Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I don't know. Hopefully we'll have some more people hopping on today. How's everyone doing? Everyone's still healthy and safe?
Yes.
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 Okay. Okay. I can't hear you, Mirinelli. You okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Everything good.
All right. Very good. Okay. I want to share some news with you really quickly. Marie. Okay. Everyone see the sketch? Did everyone look at the email that I sent?
Yes.
Okay. I tried to make it a little shorter for you guys, just to make sure that you spend a couple minutes to review it. Did anyone have any questions on the email?
Just looked at it.
Okay. Okay. If you have not reported your numbers, I'm going to ask you. I asked you all week to do it politely. Now I'm going to get a little bit more direct. Okay. It literally takes like 1 minute. Please don't make me beg you for this. Okay.
Okay.
I'm held accountable to y'all's activities as well, by the leadership team, by the market center, and of course my coach. And so I want to, the more time I have to spend chasing you down for it is the less amount of time that I can spend creating content to deliver to you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So if you have not yet reported, no, the reporting days are on the tabs at the below of the link. So for April, it's April 1st through the 8th, and then April 9th through the 15th. And then you'll report the 16th through the 23rd, whatever it is, in a few days. Okay. So just click the link and find your name on each of the tabs and put in the numbers, please. Remember that it's per week. So if you have a pending on the first week and then the next week the thing is still pending, we don't take credit for it again. This is just what you created during that week. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna do it. Well, let me look at everyone's face when I ask this. How are we doing with how direct and honest can I be with each of you?
Be honest with me.
Would anyone like me to not be direct and honest? Okay, good. The assignment, the habit that I'm hoping to build with you guys is a 20 contact a day habit. Okay, 20 contacts a week, which is the average of where you guys are. It's actually a little less than that. Right now we're at about 17 or so average per week contacts. I don't know how else to say this. We're not gonna be growing the businesses that we anticipate growing, that we want to grow. We're not. That is it's just not going to work. I want you guys to be wildly successful. This is a time where we should be doubling, tripling down in our efforts. Not hiding. Please don't hide from me. Okay. Don't hide from your accountability partners. Don't hide from your peers. It's not the time for that. Okay. What are people thinking?
I'm having good conversations, but I'm so bad at going back and keeping track. But I say every day I'm going to stay up on it so I know how many conversations I had. I can do it on my phone, and I get lost doing something else, trying to learn something that, you know, Anu and I were talking yesterday. For new agents, it is, I can't imagine what they're going through, because as an experienced agent and having to learn all this other new stuff, I'm struggling.
Okay. Let's talk about that for a second. That's why I've been suggesting time blocking, right?
Yep.
So when it's time for lead generation, we don't learn things, we just generate
Right.
leads. And when it's time for learning, we don't generate leads, we just learn.
Well,
Right.
I'm not even, I've got learning on my calendar, but I pass it, I skip over it because I am trying to talk to people. So,
Well,
and I should know how to deal with it, but
well, then you have to address, then you have to look at when on your calendar it's there, right? So, for example, I'm going to mute everyone just for a second, okay? If your learning time is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and all day long you've created a bunch of chaos, and you're expected to deal with the chaos at the end of the day, that's not going to be a great time for you to learn. So maybe learning needs to be at 6 in the morning when no one's expecting you to take their call, or 9 at night when no one's expecting you to answer the phone, right? So we've got to every time that we identify an issue that we didn't expect to be an issue. So for example, we say, okay, well, we want to learn for 30 minutes a day. Where do I put it on my calendar? Okay, how about here? First day it happens, we either don't look at the calendar or don't follow the calendar. You have to say to yourself, okay, well, that didn't work. So what got in the way? Was it something like something that was completely unexpected, never happened before? Or was it simply the same thing that gets in the way of you acting on your priorities every time, which is email, text, notifications, Facebook, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm tired, I got to return phone calls? Because that stuff isn't going to go away, right? So the only way you're going to avoid it is by truly ignoring it, right? Closing down the tabs, right? I just signed up, by the way, for the One Thing membership community. So you'll probably see a little bit more of that content like dripping out of my brain. But you have to figure out, like, what is it that distracts you from doing the thing you want to do, and then remove that from your world, right?
okay, so I want to time block and call people, but then there are these live Zoom calls that are really good and I need to be on. And then, that hour takes the time away from me. So it's important, but lead generation is more important.
Right. Well, lead generation is one of the things that it generally can only happen during, let's say 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. Everything else can happen after that. So if you miss a Zoom, go back and watch it. Right.
Okay, but there are fabulous people on these live Zoom calls, and there'll be only 100 people or 120 people on a call, and I feel like I need to be in there. Does anybody else feel that way?
Well, if I can be really candid with you, Kathy,
Please.
you're actually like one of the only people that I believe has earned the right to be on those calls. I haven't seen your numbers for this last week, but if you add 100 and you have 108 contacts in a week, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Okay.
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 But if you have 12 contacts a month or a week, you no Zooms for you. You need to be on the telephone. Okay. And does that make sense? I'm not trying to be a total jerk here, but I really, really, really want you to achieve your goals of being an independent contractor, business owner, helping people buy and sell homes, building wealth, all of that. And I think we would all admit that if you spend 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 0 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours generating leads in a week, we know that's not enough, right? We do have some clarity on that?
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone disagree?
Well,
No, I
Jan,
totally agree. I was saying that earlier. That was one of my biggest concerns when I first started, was not being able to lead gen. And remember when I first came on,
Yeah.
I was like you, Kathy, with the Zoom calls. It was like I was zoomed out, knowing that even being an experienced agent, I still need to get on the phones to make those calls because that's where my bread and butter is coming from. So I totally agree. I think, one of the things that Bill was able to say is that, okay, you have to be discretionary as to whether you get on the phones or whether you go on the Zooms. And where the Zooms are recorded, yeah, they're very informative, they're very helpful, they're very inspirational. But at the same time, I'm not generating any income. So I can be inspirational all day, but I'll be sitting in a poorhouse. That's my philosophy. So for me, it makes more sense to get on the phone and do what I need to do. That 20% that's going to generate the 80. I
Oh
think.
man, you're teaching the class tomorrow, okay?
Oh, okay, no. So that's my spiel, and I'm sticking to it. But I
Yeah,
totally
but you
wholeheartedly
are
that's
you are
important.
100% right. You're 100% right. Because although I want to get on and hear all these people speak, they're not going to buy or sell any homes from me, right? And my family depends on me getting people to buy and sell homes with me, right? I can't pay my bills with how many Zoom calls I attended, right? All right, Jan, I'm gonna comment on your chat thing, okay? I hear that. We only can control how we react to the facts, okay? We can't control who schedules what at what time. All we can control is looking at your 2 sheets of paper, right? Your 2 sheets of paper right here. This is your 401. This is the schedule of all the crap that can get in the way. Okay? And then in the morning, you got to go like this. Right? Here are my priorities that I set according to my goals and what my family needs from me and what myself needs from me, right? I need to be more healthy. I need to drink more water. I need to exercise more. I need to read more books, whatever, right? I've told the world these are my priorities. This is a list of all the distractions. This is like paper email, basically. Okay. If you can't identify your own priorities, where do you think you generally go? You go to your text messages, you go to your WhatsApps, you go to your email, and guess what lies there? Everyone else's priorities. So every day, this is our constant battle, right? What can we participate in, and what do we know we have to do? And there's only going to be so many days that you ignore this and do this, that you wake up and you say, wait, there's not enough money in the account this month. Or I just had a closing, but yet I don't have the next prospect, right? Or I got to put up another 0 in listings taken this week, right? So again, coaching. I want you to make sure you really have a handle around what this is. Coaching is me telling you what you don't want to hear, so that you can get what you want. Does that resonate with everybody? Hang on one second.
hey, everybody.
Hi.
We don't have to be quiet just because he's gone. We just be quiet when he walks back in the room like this teacher.
Last thing he said that he asks, does that resonate with everybody?
We should all disappear.
Like this.
Great Houdini.
When I come back from the leadership call, you're all gone.
Fogging on my thing. I'm gonna get up.
No, see, that's part of what we talked about, right? We talked about 2 weeks ago that we weren't making enough phone calls, and so that we would do some team generating of leads. So I hop off for 30 minutes to be with the leadership group. I come back and there's one person there or 0 people there.
But in all fairness, it's not like, for me, I'm not doing my calls. Sometimes I just figure it's weird to do it looking at a whole bunch of people. And so I hang up and I do it.
That's the same with me. I kind of feel like I was on the call because I thought the synergy would help, but then it was me, and then it was me and Heather, then it was just me and Bill.
Like I
So I
started
was like, okay, I'll just go do the calls myself.
exactly.
So aside from the 2 of you, what are we hearing there? We're hearing that we're letting our peers down, right? We're not even giving Alicia an opportunity to see if that gives her more energy, right? And from the looks of the numbers, we're not exactly, I don't know that we're actually doing it either. We're not hanging up the phone, and then we're not getting off of Zoom and then hitting the phones by ourselves without a video on us. We're not doing it at all, right? And again, there's half of the room right now is not on video. So you turn off your video, turn off your sound. No one's listening to your calls, although we may have to go to that eventually if we're not generating the business that we need to generate, right? But right now I can mute myself and take myself off a video and make my calls. And when I get a connection or book an appointment, I type it in the chat and people see that and they're like, oh, I can push through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think being on video definitely helps hold me. I mean, I'm okay with getting on the phones, but it does help hold me more accountable. You know what I mean? Because if I get off the video, I'm not making phone calls.
Okay,
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find everything else to do but make phone calls. But
okay,
when I'm on the video, I make phone calls. I'll pick another time for myself. Once I get off the calls at 9, I'm doing all the other work, and then at 6:30, then I get back on the phones. But if you're here and then it's 9 o'clock and we're to do the videos, then I will do the calls. You know what I mean? I'll make the calls because it's an accountability factor for me. It holds me accountable.
Right. My coach said something the other day. He says that most people don't want to set big goals because they don't want to change to achieve those goals.
And the fear of failure.
Right. So Kathy, that maybe that resonated with you. I saw your face. Like most people don't set big goals because they don't want to change in order to achieve those goals. Right. So a lot of us right now are operating entrepreneurially. Right. So when we go through a whole week and we have, I won't say names here, but if we have 5 contacts in a week or 12 contacts in a week or 11 contacts in a week, there is no purposeful behavior behind that. That is almost completely happenstance, right? And happenstance is not going to help you build a successful business, and it absolutely is not going to help you build a successful business in the middle of a global pandemic. Okay. I'm only saying this because I care.
Oh, can I just add something? Okay, so I've kind of gone through my database, right? Those are people that I really, at this time right now, I can't really call back and have conversations about real estate just because they're close to me and it's just not the thing to do right now. So I told you, cold calling people, but it doesn't mean that I'm not making the dials. But when you asked me to put down how many contacts, you said contacts is a 2-way conversation. So that's kind of all I get. I could have made 20, 30 cold calls, but then the people that respond, that didn't hang up, or that's all I have.
Well, the people that, when you say, hey, this is Kim with Keller Williams Realty, and they're like, I hate realtors, that's a contact. Right?
Nobody says I hate realtors, but
they don't? Wait, nobody says they hate realtors when you call?
No.
Never? That's never happened to you?
I'm not interested.
And then what happened? Did you die?
No, they just hung up,
You
but it's
didn't
not a
die?
contact. But it's not a contact.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's not a conversation though, Bill. That's a leave me alone.
That I'm going to count that, okay? Because you're going to have to go through the bad ones to get to a good one. It's a
Okay.
two-way exchange. Once they know you're a realtor, they know exactly why you're calling. If they hang up, that's better than if they string you along for 2 minutes talking about nonsense and then they hang up.
Okay, well, I didn't know those were conversations. I thought we were like having a real estate conversation.
These are contacts. That's what we don't call them conversations. We call them contacts.
But
I want you to get.
I'm getting confused now because I thought a contact had to be a conversation, a two-way conversation.
It's a two-way exchange, right? So I want you guys to get in the habit of this. Hey, this is Bill with Keller Williams. I hate realtors. Thank you very much. Have a nice life, June. Okay, hey, this is Bill with Keller Williams. Oh, you want to sell a house? Great. Boom, 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 boom. Have a great day. Next thing, here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to call you tomorrow. I'm going to send it through an email, and I'm going to send you the mobile app. Great. Do you have any questions? No. Okay, thank you so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Click. Hey, this is Bill with Keller Williams. I hate realtors. Click. That's 3. Boom, right there. I want you to get in the habit of like starting and stopping a call. No headset off, starting, stopping a call, starting, stopping a call. And you got a little pin right by you. This is for you, Kathy. We got to figure out how to track these things, right? So there's a couple of sheets in the Google Drive that specifically say they're numbered to 20, right? And there's some other ones that are tally marks, right? So every time you dial, you hit a tally mark. Every time you have a contact, you hit a tally mark. Every time you add somebody to your database or you get enough information to add somebody to your database after hours when no one's expecting to take your call, right? So for example, you can have just a blank sheet of paper, or you can have like a blank Google Drive doc or something. Or sometimes I'll type it into, I'll type it into Skype because I'm going to send it off to my assistant and she'll add it. That's where you can be inputting the information. And then when I get off the phone, what I don't do is say, I got a contact. This is awesome. I deserve a cup of coffee, a bathroom break, or walk around the neighborhood, take my headset off, go into commands right then and there and add it to the database, and then get up the energy and the motivation to go get back on the phone. That's when you jot down the information onto your thing, you tally mark all of the appropriate things, and you move on to the next phone call. Because lead generation time is truly the time that you're devoted to generating leads. Okay. When it's late at night and no one is expecting you to be their realtor, that's when you can put the information into your system. Right? Or that's when you can execute on all the promises. That's what we call lead follow-up, right? So if I told 4 people I'm going to send them comps, and I told 3 people I'm going to introduce them to a lender, and I told 1 person I was going to send them the name of my roofer, I don't want to do that during lead gen time. I want to do that afterwards. But that's also going to need some time in my calendar. Now, what we have to realize here is that the calendar is the single most important thing you got, right? Because that is where all of your priorities and the time blocking for your priorities lie, right? And that's why I've been so pushy on the economic model and the 1-3-5, is because I want to know what your priorities are so I can hold you accountable to them, right? So for example, Heather, I know yours off the top of my head. Heather wants to close 22 transactions this year. So we need to know, well, how many appointments does she need to go on in order to in order to achieve that goal, right? Okay, bye. Well, let's just say, for example, that number is 50. Okay, well, we are over a third through the year, and these aren't her numbers, but let's say she's only gone on 10. She's way behind. So what are we going to do about that? That's where we bring in the 15th of the month protocol. And we don't check that once every month or once every 3 or 4 months. We check it every single day. And you have to publicly report it once a week, saying, my goal is to be here, and yet I'm here. That's where the coaching becomes the most valuable, is when I can do what's called coaching to the gap. Coaching to the gap. The gap is where you are versus where you would like to be, or where your goal says you ought to be, right? So that way we can address the specific topics that are getting in the way of why you're not on pace, or why you're not beyond pace, right? So if let's say there's somebody in the room that they get thirsty a lot. Okay, well, put a cup of water next to your phone. You don't know how to track things, then if you can't do tally marks, then you're going to have, I don't know exactly, you might have to go in and say, okay, well, if the call was more than 30 seconds, I'm going to assume it was a contact, right? If the call was less than 30 seconds, it probably wasn't a contact. And then at the end of the day, go through your phone and check the call list. I mean, that seems a little tedious. I think it'd be a whole lot easier just to do some tally marks, right? And that's why I've even created documents for you where you can scribble, okay, Joanna talked to, Joe left a message, Sarah I talked to, George gave me a referral, right? Make sense? So just as important as what your goals are, we have to identify when you're in the activity to achieve your goals, what keeps getting in the way, right? You're hungry, you're thirsty, you got to go to the bathroom a lot, right? I'm having a hard time coming up with random examples, but we have to get rid of those distractions, right? So on the one thing, these people are saying, okay, well, this person had a hard time not watching TV at night. So what did they do? They took the batteries out of the remote. Okay. So now every time, and they just put the batteries right next to the remote, but now every time they want to go watch TV, they got to put the batteries in. And in that 10 seconds or so, they can think about, is this aligned? Is this thing on my 411? No. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't do it, right? This person eats ice cream too much. So instead of putting it in the freezer in that kitchen, go put it in the freezer in the garage. It's these very tiny things that get in the way of us achieving our goals. Does that make sense? Okay. I want to close with a couple things in mind. Okay. Number one, if you have not registered for Bold Pivot, please, I want you to do one of two things today. Either register or reach out to me directly and talk to me about why you're hesitating. Okay. One of the two. Either register and tell the group, or reach out to me privately and tell me why you're hesitating, and we'll talk it through. Okay. Secondly, this week the DTD2 is last names of D as in dog and last names of O as in Oliver, and texting people that are P. Okay. If you run out of those people, call some strangers. Okay. If you've already called your database, your sphere of influence 3 times this week, then call some strangers. Okay, we're going to add some people to our database. The last thing I want to mention to you is the one thing. Okay, I want everyone to think about, what is your one thing that you intend to do. And this is going to be really important. At the beginning of every day, we talked about daily intention. Same thing. What is the biggest thing that you can do today, such that by doing it, everything else is easier and necessary and will move my business forward faster, right? More often than not, it is either adding people to my database or booking appointments. Okay. When you have 100 contacts in a week, you can do whatever you want to do. When you haven't gotten there for whatever reason, you have to re-examine your commitment to your business. Okay. If I was following you around all day long, watching you do whatever you do, would I know that you were a professional realtor? Right? If you've read, we're actually now a little ahead in our, I wrote in the message, by the way, nobody read that email the whole way through, where you would have done a couple things, because I threw in a couple of lines there of personal requests. So please read the email. It takes me a long time to put it together. Okay. In the shift book, tactic 7 and 8, for example, they talk a lot about, they have some presuppositions in there that are pretty serious, right? They're presupposing that the agents are like super serious about studying the market. If I watched you all day long, would I know that you know the market and you study the market daily? I think your customers are going to expect that you do that, right? And when you do that, you'll speak more confidently with your folks, right? Jan, congratulations. I appreciate your commitment. Okay. Vulcan 7, I will send out the password and username in the group, and everyone can begin to use it. And I would suggest spending a little time watching their videos on how to use their product, okay? All right, let's go make some contacts today. And if you have not reported your numbers, please, 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 literally takes a minute. Numbers are the report card of your business, right? Why do you think they publish the standings in the newspaper every day for sports teams and all the stats? This guy was 8 for 10 from the foul line. He was 12 for 22 from the 3-point line. He had this percentage ratio of foul shot to making the foul shot. It's all numbers. We assess somebody's success by the numbers. So show us what your numbers are. Show yourself what your numbers are. Don't hide it. As hiding it ain't going to help anybody, especially you. Okay?
Okay.
All right, I'm trying to be a gentle 10 today. Okay? Jan, did I do a good job of being a gentle 10? Maybe I'll keep trying. All right, y'all, hang out. The room is yours. I'll be back at 9:30, and we can make some calls on film or off film, whatever you want to do. Okay? Please don't let this room be empty when I come back.